In the sun-baked valleys of the Arizona Territory, where the red earth met the endless blue sky, lived a man named Elias Thorne. He was a poor farmer, scratching out a meager existence on a patch of land that barely yielded enough corn and beans to feed himself, let alone sell at the distant markets. Elias was in his early 30s, with calloused hands, a weathered face etched by years of toil, and a heart heavy with the ghosts of his past. His wife had died in childbirth 5 years prior, taking their infant son with her to the grave. Since then, Elias had lived alone, his only companions the howling coyotes at night and the relentless sun by day. The year was 1872, a time when the frontier was a powder keg of tension between settlers and the native tribes. The Apache people, fierce warriors of the Caricahua Band, roamed the nearby mountains, resisting the encroachment of white men with raids and skirmishes. Elias had heard the stories, tales of ghost riders in the night, stealing cattle and vanishing like smoke. But he kept to himself, far from the forts and towns, hoping to avoid the bloodshed that seemed inevitable. One scorching afternoon, as Elias bent over his irrigation ditch, trying to coax water from a dwindling stream, he heard the soft crunch of footsteps on the dry gravel. He straightened up, his hand instinctively reaching for the old rifle leaning against a mesquite tree. What he saw froze him in place. A woman stood before him, her dark hair braided with feathers and beads, her skin bronzed by the sun. She wore a deerskin dress adorned with intricate patterns, and around her neck hung a necklace of turquoise stones. Her eyes were sharp, like those of a hawk, and she carried a woven basket on her hip. She was Apache, there was no mistaking it. Elias had seen a few from afar during his travels, but never this close and never alone. "What do you want?" Elias asked, his voice steady but wary. He didn't raise the rifle, sensing no immediate threat from her poised stance. The woman regarded him for a long moment, her gaze unflinching. Then, in halting English mixed with gestures, she spoke. "I am Nijoni. I watch you many moons. You work hard, alone, no woman, no child." Elias blinked, surprised by her words. How long had she been observing him? The thought sent a chill down his spine despite the heat. "I'm Elias. This is my land. If you're here to steal, I ain't got much worth taking." Nijoni shook her head. "Not steal. I come for you." She placed a hand on her abdomen, her expression softening just a fraction. "My people. War comes. Many men die. I need strong child, warrior blood. But—" she paused, searching for the words. "I choose you to be the father." Elias nearly dropped his shovel. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. "What, me? Lady, you must be mistaken. I'm no warrior. I'm just a farmer scraping by. And besides, your people and mine, we don't mix like that." But Nijoni didn't waver. She stepped closer, her eyes locking onto his. "You strong, survive alone, good heart. I see you help wounded deer last moon, not kill for sport. My child need that, not just arrow and knife." Elias's mind raced. This couldn't be real. Apaches were known for their raids, their unyielding defense of their lands. Yet here was this woman, bold as brass, proposing something that defied every boundary he knew. He thought of the soldiers at Fort Bowie, who spoke of Apaches as savages. But looking at her, he saw only determination, a quiet fire that stirred something long dormant in him. I don't know," he stammered. "This ain't right. What about your tribe? They'd kill me if they found out." Nijoni smiled faintly, a rare glimpse of vulnerability. "My choice, not theirs. Come with me, one night, then I go." And so, against every instinct screaming in his head, Elias followed her into the hills as the sun dipped low, painting the desert in hues of orange and purple. The journey to her hidden camp took hours, winding through canyons where shadows played tricks on the eye. Nijoni moved like a shadow herself, silent and sure-footed. Elias stumbled occasionally, his boots ill, suited for the rocky terrain. They spoke little, but she shared bits of her story in broken English. Her husband, a warrior named Geronimo, not the famous one, but a cousin, had been killed in a skirmish with Mexican soldiers 2 years ago. Since then, the elders had pressured her to remarry within the tribe, but Nijoni refused. "Too many die young," she said. "I want child who lives long, like you, farmer strong in different way." They arrived at a secluded arroyo, where a small fire flickered under a rocky overhang. Nijoni had prepared a simple meal, dried meat, corn cakes, and water from a spring. As they ate, Elias felt the weight of the moment. This was madness. A white man in Apache territory, entertaining a proposition that could end with an arrow in his back. Yet there was an undeniable pull. Loneliness had carved deep grooves in his soul, and Nijoni's presence filled them, if only for a night. Under the starlit sky, with the desert wind whispering through the cigarros, they came together. It was not just physical. It was a bridge across worlds. Nijoni's touch was fierce yet tender, her body telling stories of survival and loss. Elias, for the first time in years, felt alive, his grief melting away in the heat of their union. As dawn broke, she dressed quietly and led him back to his farm, vanishing into the morning mist with a promise. "If child comes, I tell you." Months passed. Elias returned to his routines, but the encounter haunted him. He scanned the horizons daily, half expecting Apache riders to descend in retribution. Rumors swirled in the nearby town of Tombstone about escalating conflicts, raids on ranches, ambushes on wagon trains. Elias kept his secret buried deep, focusing on his crops as winter approached. Then, one crisp autumn evening, Nijoni reappeared at his doorstep, her belly swollen with life. "It is yours," she said simply, stepping inside his modest adobe hut without invitation. Elias's heart pounded. "How? Why come back? It's dangerous. My people move south. War with bluecoats comes. I stay here, with you. Child needs father." The decision was made in that instant. Elias, the poor farmer who had nothing but his land, now had a family thrust upon him. He nodded, fear mingling with a strange joy. "All right, we'll make it work." Life together was a delicate dance of cultures clashing and blending. Nijoni taught Elias the Apache ways, how to track game, read the stars for navigation, and weave baskets from yucca fibers. In return, he showed her the rhythms of farming, planting seeds in furrowed rows, harvesting under the harvest moon. Their home became a fusion, Apache rugs on the dirt floor, a crucifix from Elias's late wife hanging beside a medicine bundle. But peace was fleeting. Word spread among the settlers that Elias had taken an Indian squaw as his woman. Whispers turned to threats. One night, a group of roughnecks from town rode up, torches in hand. "You consorting with the enemy, Thorn," their leader snarled, "hand her over, or we'll burn this place down." Elias stood firm, rifle in hand, Nijoni beside him with a bow strung taut. "She's my wife now. Leave us be." The confrontation ended without bloodshed, the men backing off under the intensity of their united front, but it was a harbinger of worse to come. As Nijoni's pregnancy progressed, so did the Apache wars. Geronimo, the real one, led raids that shook the territory. Federal troops poured in, clashing with warriors in bloody battles. Nijoni's kin were caught in the crossfire. Messengers from her tribe brought news of losses, urging her to return. "Your place is with us," one young brave implored. "This white man will bring death." But Nijoni refused. "My path is here. The spirits guided me to him." The birth came on a stormy night in spring. Thunder rattled the hut as Nijoni labored, Elias boiling water and holding her hand. No midwife, no doctor, just the two of them. After hours of agony, a cry pierced the air, a boy, healthy and squalling, with Elias's blue eyes and Nijoni's dark hair. They named him Kale, meaning strong one, in a blend of their tongues. For a brief time, joy reigned. Elias watched in awe as Nijoni nursed their son, singing Apache lullabies that lulled the desert winds. He expanded his fields, dreaming of a future where Kale could inherit a thriving farm, free from the shadows of war. Yet, fate is cruel in the frontier. scouts reported Apache bands retreating to the mountains, pursued by cavalry. One fateful day, while Elias was in town trading goods, soldiers raided his farm, mistaking it for a hideout. They found Nijoni alone with Kale. By the time Elias returned, the hut was smoldering. Nijoni lay wounded, an arrow, her own, clutched in her hand, evidence of her fierce defense. Kale was gone, taken by the soldiers as a ward, to be raised in a mission school. Rage consumed Elias. He bandaged Nijoni's wounds, her spirit unbroken despite the pain. "We get him back," she whispered, her eyes burning. What followed was a desperate quest across the territory. Elias, the once peaceful farmer, transformed into a tracker under Nijoni's guidance. They rode through canyons and over mesas, evading patrols and allying with sympathetic outlaws. Nijoni's knowledge of the land proved invaluable. She navigated hidden trails that confounded the troops. In a daring midnight raid on the mission near Tucson, they reclaimed Kale. Disguised as travelers, they infiltrated the compound, Nijoni distracting guards with a feigned plea for aid while Elias slipped into the nursery. With their son in arms, they fled into the night, bullets whizzing past. But freedom came at a cost. Pursued relentlessly, they sought refuge with Nijoni's remaining kin in the Sierra Madre Mountains, crossing into Mexico. There, among the Caracahua Apaches, Elias was an outsider, viewed with suspicion. He proved his worth by sharing farming techniques that bolstered their food supplies, earning grudging respect. Years turned Kale into a young boy, embodying the best of both worlds, skilled with a hoe and a bow, speaking English and Apache fluently. Nijoni and Elias grew old together, their love forged in fire. Elias often reflected on that first encounter, marveling at how a simple proposition had rewritten his life. In the end, as the Apache wars waned and reservations were imposed, their family endured. Kale became a bridge between cultures, advocating for peace in a changing world. And Elias, the poor farmer, found riches beyond measure in the woman who chose him and the son they shared. Word count 1,248. Wait, that's not 2,500. I need to expand this. The story above is a summary outline, but to reach 2,500 words, let's dive deeper into the narrative. Expanded story: Elias Thorne's farm was a humble affair, nestled in a valley flanked by the Dragoon Mountains. The soil was arid, requiring constant vigilance against drought. He rose before dawn each day, his muscles aching from the previous labors. His cabin was a single room of adobe walls, with a thatched roof that leaked during rare rains. Inside, a faded photograph of his late wife, Mary, sat on a shelf, her smile a reminder of lost happiness. The day Nijoni first appeared, Elias was repairing a fence, his shirt soaked with sweat. He didn't hear her approach until she was mere feet away. Her presence was like a mirage, beautiful and otherworldly. Nijoni, whose name meant beautiful in her language, was 28, a widow hardened by loss but not broken. Their conversation that afternoon stretched into evening. Nijoni explained her reasoning more fully. In Apache culture, women had agency in choosing mates, especially in times of strife. With so many young men lost to battles, she sought a partner outside the tribe to ensure her lineage's survival. "You are not like other white men," she said. "You do not take from the land without giving back. I have seen you plant trees for shade, not just cut them." Elias shared his own story, the words tumbling out after years of silence. Mary's death had left him hollow, questioning God's plan. "I ain't much," he admitted, "but if this is what you want." That night in the arroyo was transformative. The fire crackled as they shared stories. Nijoni spoke of the Great Spirit, of how the stars told tales of ancestors. Elias recounted Bible stories from his childhood. Their intimacy was passionate, a release of pent-up emotions. As they lay together, Nijoni whispered, "This child will be a healer, not a destroyer." When she returned pregnant, Elias prepared the cabin, building a cradle from mesquite wood. Nijoni brought herbs and talismans, blending her traditions with his. Their days were filled with learning. She taught him to make pemmican. He showed her how to bake bread in a Dutch oven. The threat from settlers escalated. After the torch-bearing mob, Elias fortified the farm with traps and watch points. Njoni's keen senses saved them more than once, detecting intruders before they struck. The birth was grueling. Njoni gripped a leather strap, biting down as contractions racked her body. Elias, drawing on memories of Mary's labor, coached her through it. When Cale emerged, his tiny fists waving, it was a miracle. Njoni held him close, tears streaming. "He has your strength," she said to Elias. Raising Cale was a joy amid hardships. The boy toddled through the fields, chasing lizards, while Njoni sang songs of the coyote trickster. Elias taught him letters from an old primer, dreaming of education beyond the frontier. The raid shattered everything. Elias returned to find the cabin in flames, Njoni bleeding from a gunshot to her shoulder. They took him, she gasped, said he was half-breed to be civilized. Their pursuit was epic. They rode stolen horses, living off the land. In one encounter, they ambushed a supply wagon for provisions. Njoni's arrow felled a guard silently, her warrior skill shining. At the mission, the rescue was tense. Cale, only months old, was in a crib among other native children. Elias scooped him up, heart pounding, as alarms sounded. They escaped on foot, then horseback, crossing rivers to throw off trackers. In Mexico, with the Apaches, Elias faced trials. He underwent rituals to prove loyalty, enduring a vision quest in the mountains. Hallucinating from hunger, he saw Mary blessing his new life. Decades later, as an old man, Elias sat with Njoni watching Cale. "Now a leader, negotiate treaties. You chose well," Elias said. Njoni smiled. "We chose each other."